Welcome gamers! Today we're going to take a look at a really cool space-themed arcade rail shooter from Konami called Solar Assault. So for starters, this game was somewhat of a lesser known arcade title. Having been released to arcades in 1997, it was never actually ported to consoles, at least not as of yet. And so the game features 3 spaceships the players can choose from to play as, codenamed Alpinia, Vic Viper, and Lord British, each with their own unique weapon sets. And so the game was thought to be a runoff of the Gradius series, but to be honest, the appearance of the alien bug characters in this game reminded me more closely of the classic Galaga series, more so than anything else. And so the first stage of the game fits the theme quite well, as players warp through outer space shooting down alien bugs and aircraft, dodging asteroids and incoming enemy fire. But as the game progresses, players are met with wild and unexpected surprises. Actually, I was really surprised by some of the stuff I saw in this game, more of which I will touch on shortly here. And so, each of the game's stages consists of these really mesmerizing 3D worlds, each with their own unique theme, as if you were playing a totally different game with each passing stage. While the first stage of the game takes you through the depths of outer space, successive stages take you through a series of alien worlds, including a world overrun with molten lava, a strange land with statues that resemble the Moai statues of Easter Island. And there's even an alien underground world filled with spiders and centipede-looking creatures, among others. And so the gameplay starts out as a forward-scrolling shooter, as you can see by the looks of this first stage. But it progresses to an all-out rail shooter in later stages, with players zipping and winding around turns and through corridors. And so, enemy characters in the game not only fire weapons at you, some will pull kamikaze attacks, literally slamming head-on into you unless you shoot them down first. And so, the gameplay is quite challenging. This was a lot of fun to play. The first couple stages aren't too bad. It gets pretty chaotic once you get to like the third or the fourth stage. It gets extremely challenging. I'll get into more of that in just a moment though. For now, the game boss characters, let's take a look at them. The boss characters are really caught me by surprise. This was the most surprising part about the game overall. In one stage, you battle what looks like a giant sea serpent. In another stage, you are presented with a giant Egyptian sarcophagus. It's huge. And as players scroll to its base, you're met with the head of an Egyptian pharaoh that resembles that of King Tut. Which is actually kind of ironic, given that Sega also produced a light gun game where players paddled King Tut, believe it or not. That game was called Maze of the Kings. That's another arcade light gun game, which we've also previously covered that game in a video, I think just a couple years, maybe 2 years ago. You can check that out. It's up in our arcade games playlist if you want to see more about that. And so anyways, throughout the game, you collect power-ups that provide secondary upgrades to your secondary attacks, shields, etc., as well as enhanced primary weapons. Now, by default, the game isn't very forgiving when it comes to dying, as each continued results in players being forced to restart all the way back at the beginning of the game, or at the beginning of the stage that you're on. Though this setting can't be changed from the game's main setup menu, which is a plus. Unfortunately, what I've come to realize is that this game is not really fully operational in main as of yet. It will run, but it crashes a lot. I did manage to make it to the 5th stage in this video, but that was after about 50 tries and a lot of tweaking of the settings in main. As for the game overall, the only thing I really didn't like about this game was the opening music sequence. I thought it was really annoying. Otherwise, I thought the graphics, the gameplay was a lot of fun. I mean, look at this. This is that giant sea serpent character that I was telling you about. Something else to note about the bosses in this game, they are incredibly easy to take out. They are not difficult at all to defeat. It only takes a handful of shots. To be honest, the regular enemies in this game, like these glowing orbs that are firing at me, they're often harder to defeat just because they will either crash into you, they'll fire at you, and you can't, sometimes you just can't avoid all the incoming enemy fire. Now it's going to actually start getting increasingly difficult with this stage. You're going to see those Moai statues, there they are, that I was telling you about. The gameplay is very fast paced. This part just gets really difficult because soon it ends up where you not only have to avoid incoming enemy fire. Now you can see these statues are falling out of the sky. You can see these pillars are falling to the ground. They're gonna crush you. So there's just a lot. It's more like an obstacle course in some stages than it is just a shooter. You can see now I got these giant disc things being thrown at me. Very, very odd assortment of stages. We get to one stage, it's like you're underground and it's like some weird alien world. You've got these centipede-looking characters, just like dead trees everywhere. You can see here, you can see these giant glowing brick things coming out of the walls. Stuff like that, it's really, really hard to avoid getting shot by those. Same with those snakes that pop up on the screen. Because they fire like a whole bunch of shots all at one time. You can see that it feels almost impossible to avoid that. But this was an arcade game, and they do have to make money off these titles, so they were meant to eat your quarters. This is the giant sarcophagus I was telling you about. And here's King Tut. His facial features don't really look all that realistic. He actually kind of looks like a giant stone figure, and you can notice he's like barfing out those Moai statues from earlier. So this is really kind of odd, and I don't know if they were like copying this off of Sega's Maze of the Kings, because that was another game that I just mentioned a few minutes ago. That game you also battled King Tut. That one, the King Tut in that game was larger, it was a lot bigger, and it was a lot tougher to beat. Like I said, the bosses in this game are like nothing. It just takes a handful of shots to take them out. You can see it's really not even hard to avoid the incoming fire from this boss character. He's just blowing rings out and stuff, and it's like not really a big deal. The sarcophagus was kind of telling. I mean, I pretty much knew what to expect the moment that I saw it. I said, okay, this is going to be some giant Egyptian something, you know, some pharaoh of some kind. So now we're underground. This is like some underground alien world. This is the one I was telling you about, had the centipede-looking characters and the spiders and stuff. You can see there's like dead trees everywhere. Just really cool graphics in this game. They did a great job with this. I believe the game was developed as a partnership between Konami and IBM. I think also worked on this game. It's just really, really interesting. Unfortunately, I couldn't play through the entire game. In fact, the first like 25 or 30 shots that I gave at recording this, the game crashed every single time. And I'm not really sure why. You know, like it may be a while before developers can smooth this out and maybe get it fully operational. But for now, I was able to get it to somewhere in the beginning of the 5th stage, and then the game's just dead and it just crashes. But the first like 30 times I tried to record this, it crashed right into either the 1st or the 2nd stage. I could not make it past the beginning of the 3rd stage at all. So you can see now it's really the difficulty is very progressive. Here's another boss character. I don't know what this thing is. I don't even know how to describe it. Like some, I don't know if that's supposed to be some reptilian beast or something. I don't know what it is. Really simple to take these characters out. Like I said, the bosses are not hard at all. It's the avoiding falling obstacles and stuff that's being thrown into you. That's the hardest part of this game. Now you do get power-ups in this game. The thing is that there's like an extra force shield that can keep you from dying. You have secondary attacks. You can, some of the power-ups you pick up will give you missile attacks, etc. You basically get most of your power-up attacks come from defeating sequences of enemies. So you'll have like you know, like remember in Galaga when you would shoot like 8 or 10 aliens that were all in a line. That's the same type of sequence in here that you'll see in this game, where you'll get a power-up for defeating all of the enemies within that sequence. So here's stage 5. This was really cool. Unfortunately, we crashed in this scene not far into it, to be honest. This is like some futuristic world here. This is kind of like this part turns into more of a rail shooter, more than just a forward scroller. You can see you're kind of zipping and turning. Just a really interesting game. I would have really liked to see this get ported to consoles, and I'm kind of surprised that Konami never did that. And who knows, maybe in the future they might actually decide to. But for now, the only way that you can really play this is to get a hold of the actual arcade title itself, or to try to run it in MAME, and it's really sticky to do that. Older versions of MAME, the audio in this was really broken. It ran horribly. I was not able to find, I did look up on Google search to see if I could find any information, any workarounds. Unfortunately, I was not actually able to find any. But anyways, that is Solar Assault. Really, really fun arcade rail shooter. Anyways, if you'd like to check out some more classic arcade games, be sure to check out our arcade games playlist. And if you like this video, be sure to give a thumbs up and subscribe to stay up to date with our future videos. Anyways, many thanks for watching, and until next time, take care.